Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 236. Andrew Eisen here, and let's talk about cartoons and video games, the most important topics we could ever discuss. Are there other topics to discuss? Sure. Could I discuss them? Sure. But why? Lindy, hello. So Matthew, I did watch Vivi Fluorite's Eyes song, whatever it's called. What a lovely name that just comfortably rolls off the tongue. Well, the show is still airing, so I've only seen episodes. I don't know, 5 episodes, something like that. Jared, hello. Lots of ellipses there. Vivi. Actually, that let me move one of my topics up, since I'm going to talk about Vivi right now anyway. So, I believe it was Matthew who a couple weeks ago recommended an anime called Vivi Fluorite Eyes Song, um, which is about a world in which the android apocalypse happens. So a teddy bear is sent back in time to team up with a to team up with Hatsune Miku to prevent the android apocalypse future. Momo, hello. Good to see you. It checks a lot of boxes for me. Number one, cartoon, so you got me there. Two, heavily based on music, so being a musician singer myself, that's always a step in the right direction for me if it revolves around music. Um, it's got action. I like me some action. It's got a pretty nice aesthetic. It's attractive to look at. It's pretty well animated. Um, so, granted, it's only like 5 episodes in, maybe six, something like that. I wouldn't call it great. I wouldn't at this point be like shouting from the rooftops, "My gosh, you have to watch this!" But I am definitely enjoying it, and I'm interested to see where this goes. Is the time traveling teddy bear? Is it? Can it really be trusted? Um, so yeah, thank you, Matthew, for the recommendation. I'm enjoying this one, and you have a pretty good track record with the recommendations, so I thank you. Um, Hi, Cloaker. Talking about anime right now. So I did a debut review for Alice and Tuesday, Carol and Tuesday, another anime that is very heavily focused on musicians. That one, I think I've only seen like 6, 7 episodes of. That one for me was really uneven, although I really like all the music part of it. Although it is, if I'm remembering correctly, I think they sing everything in English, which is weird, but whatever. It's about two girls who live on Mars, I think, and one's a rich girl who wants to get out and see the world, and the other's a job hopping, going job to job kind of person. And they meet and they team up and they decide to form a little band. And it's cute and it's fun. It's got some nice design ideas. The music's really good. The problem I had with that show is like every other episode just didn't work for me. And I think the reason the episodes generally don't work for me when they don't work for me, while every other episode doesn't work, the other ones totally do, which is why it's taking me so long to actually get through that series. I'm only like 6 or 7 episodes in because I hit an episode where I'm like, and I don't want to watch anymore. But I love the music. I love the variety in music. The music is not as pop heavy as a lot of musical anime tend to be. Which another one that I'll talk about in a moment is. Uh, What where I run into problems with Carol and Tuesday is a lot of the characters I just don't like. The biggest culprit for me is their manager. I could honestly just do without him. He doesn't need to be there half the time. So he has his moments. Like, every other episode I'm totally fine, but man, if there's something that's annoying me about Carol and Tuesday, it's usually the manager, some other periphery characters. Still, there's enough good stuff in that series that I do want to work my way through the rest of it. Jared says if you like music, you might want to give Snow White Notes a try. Snow White Notes, okay. Not familiar with that, but I'll check it out. Or at least look it up and see what it is. So I appreciate the recommend. So this week I've been trying new things in my off time, just checking stuff out. For example, I'll touch on this briefly. I didn't do a debut review for it, but a little bit of backstory. Somewhat tangential, but that's what this podcast is. So, my energy bill from the fine folks at SDG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric, for the 6 years I've lived here, averages around $35 to $40. So we're usually looking at the high 30s, sometimes $41, $42 a month. Not terrible. Last November, my bill was $56. Highest it's ever been, by like nearly $15. I thought, was it because of the charity event where I had all my lights on and the computer running and I was streaming for 24 hours straight? And then my computer subsequently died. Did I like burn out my graphics card and it was just sucking power out of the wall? Is that what happened? Is that what the spike was? But things leveled out until my March bill arrived at the end of March, and it was $61. And then last month's bill, my April bill, $70. Now, what new thing do I have in the past 2 months that could be sucking power out of my wall with abandon? Could it be my new computer? Methinks it is. Methinks that the isn't methinks a fun word? Hark! Methinks that the graphics card, which Kyle from KNGI so graciously gave me. It's an older graphics card, and its fan is running full blast all the time just to keep up. I've been trying to get a new graphics card, but unless I want to pay over double, sometimes triple MSRP, I can't. So I think it's the fact that this graphics card is just running hot all the time that this new PC is just sucking power out of my wall. So I'm going to have to, what I've decided is to turn this off during peak hours, which is 4 to 9. And so I since I had it off and I finished my workday a little bit early because the APK I was given to test doesn't install, so I can't test it. and it was Friday, so our development team was not there, so it's like, well, your APK doesn't install, so I'm gonna watch TV. So I decided to watch Great Pretender, which is a cartoon, an anime about con people, people who con. Have you seen Dirty Rotten Scoundrels? It's like that. It's Jared asks, do I keep my PC on all the time? No, I turn it off at night when I go to bed. But it's, when I get up, I start working. So I turn it on and it's on until I go to bed. So it's on all the time. But I'm going to try keeping it off during peak hours and see if that helps. Luckily, I can watch my usage on the SDG&E site. And I've been doing some tests, like seeing what the difference between keeping my PS4 in sleep mode and off mode is. Things like that. Um, Also, sleep mode for the PC versus turning it off. Um, I also turned down the temperature, or turned up the temperature rather, of my refrigerator a little bit. See if that helps a bit. Because I really don't want to be paying more for power than I do for internet. Anyway, Great Pretender, I watched the first arc, and it's pretty solid. I feel it runs into a problem where, you know how John Wick is a fun series of movies, but it's kind of ridiculous because it feels like every single person who in the world is part of this underground cabal of assassins. Like, that scene at the end of the first or second movie where he snaps and everyone there stops? It's like, it loses its mystique if it appears that there's only like 6 people in all of New York who are just oblivious to the underground assassin network. All the cab drivers, all the shop owners, all the unhoused people, all the librarians. Literally everyone in New York and around the world is in on it except Jeffrey. Jeffrey's the only oblivious fool. We can't tell Jeffrey. Jeffrey and Susan and Sam, we can't, they can't know. Great Pretender has the same problem where it's like, oh, so those people at the restaurant, those were your guys. Yeah. Haha, a twist. Oh, and the police were your guys. Yep. And the FBI. Uh-huh. And the entire federal government. That's right. At some point, it just gets ridiculous because he's got this enormous team of people who are just... There's only like one person in the entire show who's not in on the con. So that gets a little ridiculous, but still fun. And the way the first arc ends, from a character standpoint, made me very, very happy. I was like, oh, that's a really strong character beat to end on. I like that. I will watch the second arc at some point. So saw that. Earlier in the week, I decided to try something called, and this is what I wanted to talk about, Land Saga. Now, you may suspect that the only reason I gave a look to Land Saga is because it has the word zombie in it. You're absolutely right. This was a show that I had never heard of and went into completely blind without even reading the show description. I was like, Zombie Saga? I'm like, okay. I don't think High School of the Dead worked, but it had a lot of fun moments. So, zombies, sure. Someone in the chat remind me what I can't tell you. I forget the name of one. And I hate to spoil it, but it's one of those, it's the middle of the first episode twist kind of things. There's another anime that's about a zombie apocalypse. There's a kids trapped in a high school, and they're pretending everything is okay to, help the youngest one cope. and the first episode is shot from her perspective, so everything's fine, and then you learn, oh, nothing's fine. They're actually trapped in a high school surrounded by zombies. Remind me what the hell the name of that show is, because I only saw the first couple of episodes and was thinking about it and thought I might want to revisit it at some point. Anyway, Land Saga. This show. I thought about it long and hard, but I could not think of another show that I so violently ping-ponged back and forth between I love this and I hate this as frequently an episode as I did. Matthew says, Land Saga is lampooning idol shows. Yes, did not know that going in. I just saw zombie and I'm like, okay, Land Saga sounds like a zombie apocalypse show. That is not what it is at all. The premise, or rather the setup is, premise works. An idol band, but they're zombies. Isn't that funny? Sure. That's funny. So, you have your premise of a group of zombies come together to form an idol group. Great. What's the setup? Well, the show doesn't care and it doesn't think you should either. In fact, the fact that there, at least so far, there's no setup or world building is played as an actual joke. The show addresses this. The manager of the group basically says, who cares how you're zombies or what the zombie rules are or what's going on. Doesn't matter. You're zombies. We're forming an idol group. Why? I don't know. Because we want to save the town of Saga. Why? I don't know. Is something going to happen to it? Is it money problems? What's going? The show does not care. I think it plays that off as a joke. I do think it's to the show's detriment. School Live? Is that what it's called? Okay. So the show, I will tell you this. I laughed heartily at the 90-second mark of Land Saga. And then about 2 or 3 minutes into the show, I was very intrigued. And then I was annoyed. And then I laughed. And then I was really annoyed. And then I laughed again. And then I got annoyed again. And I was like, this music's really good. And then I got annoyed. And that kept happening episode after episode. Man. So the show opens with your typical bubbly, happy high school kid who's, I am happy and bubbly and I'm going to high school, which I love. La 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 la. And she steps out of her house, down the front porch, down the walk, out through the gate, and immediately is hit by a truck. Just BAM! And goes flying through the air. And the opening credits are done over her body somersaulting through the air, which is actually really funny. Now, I've never been to Japan, but the way this young woman's home is drawn is she lives in a house. This house has a yard with a walk that leads out to a opening in a fence that surrounds the entire property. Now, this fence is like 7 feet tall and like solid brick or cinder block or something. It's not slatted, it's not chain link, you can't see through it. So you walk out of the house, down the walk, and through the portal in the fence surrounding the property. And according to this anime, there's no sidewalk, it's just street. Like, even if you didn't happily, skip out of your house, you could easily get decapitated just sticking your head out the front gate to see if there's any traffic coming, because apparently there's no sidewalk. It is just immediately street. I don't know if anywhere in Japan is built like that, but I certainly hope not, because that seems unsafe. But I did have a hearty chuckle at her getting pasted by a truck. So she wakes up in a strange house. And she's, oh dear, where am I? What happened? When she runs into a zombie. And it's a rotting zombie corpse with wild red eyes and gnashing teeth, and it's reaching for me, and it's going, ah! And she goes, ah! And she run, only with much more enthusiasm. And she runs, and then she finds a bunch more zombies, and they, ah! And she, ah! But with a lot of enthusiasm. And she runs out of the house and down the street. And she's like, what in the biscuits is going on? And she comes across a police officer on a bicycle. And she's like, hey, help. And the police officer on the bicycle says, okay, I, police officer on bicycle, will, oh my god! And he pulls his gun on her and he says, stay back, you monster! And she's like, what in the hell? And there's a mirror. One of those mirrors that is on the end of a terminating street that comes to a T-junction so that you can see traffic. Her house could have used one of those. And she turns around, she looks at herself in the mirror, and she's not the red-flushed cheek live human she thought she was. She's a zombie too. She has pale grayish-green skin, and she's got a big scar down her face. And she's like, and the cop shoots her. And she, huh? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I am intrigued. This is pretty interesting. So some guy knocks out the police officer with a shovel and takes her back to the house and explains to her that you're a zombie now, and you and these other zombies who are not awake, in other words, articulate and thoughtful like you are going to be an idol group. And we're going to save Saga Land, which is where we are, which is a place, geographically. Like Burbank. Why? Don't know. What would happen if we don't? It appears they just thought an idea of a zombie girl group would be funny. And it is, but they didn't seem interested in coming up with any backstory or lore or zombie. Is there a zombie apocalypse going on? No, it doesn't seem to be. Why are they zombies? Don't know. Did the manager resurrect them? Seems to have, but don't know. Why? Don't know. How? Don't know. How come all of them are awake except that one? Because it'd be funny. Probably, and it is. Because there's 7 girls in this idol group, but one of them just never woke up, and she's still. So they're doing that da 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 da. They're doing the, and the 7th girls. You're just flailing all over the place, and sometimes attacking the audience, trying to eat them. She's getting better. So So I find the lack of seeming interest in world building annoying and even lazy. Even though the show outright states this is not what the show's about, we don't care, you shouldn't either. I can't help it, I kind of care. But if you meet the show on its own terms, the manager is still really annoying. Like, I think they're trying to go the Saiba Ryo route, the protagonist of City Hunter, where he's a goofball, or Lupin the Third, if you're not familiar with City Hunter, who is a goofball, lecherous, wacky character, but he has those moments where he drops the facade and he's dead serious and even incredibly kind and insightful. The manager in this show is kind of like that too, but he just doesn't work the way Saiba Ryo and Lupin do, in my very humble opinion. There are moments of him that work. Sometimes he is funny. 80% of the time, I'd be like, you know what? I, I'd be fine if he just wasn't in the show. Because he's really annoying and rarely funny. Occasionally is, but what really surprised me about the show is the music is really strong. I mean, really strong. It is. It's incredibly varied. They actually do a lot of unique things with the fact that they've got six singers. Tai, whatever her name is, the truly undead one, doesn't sing, can barely dance. She keeps up okay. I think she's fine. Um, they do a lot with vocal harmonies and vocal inflections. They do a bunch of different genres of music. I mean, I think the second episode they have a full-on rap battle, and it's really well done. Most of it is idle pop music, but they do cover a lot of different genres, different styles. Even within the same song, they will experiment with different tempos. They have one song that does this weird thing where they just overload the rhythmic meter of the song, meaning that they jam more lyrics than you would really want to fit into a particular rhythmic meter. Um, most songs would be like, "Heart of my heart, I love you," right? This song just jams way more words into that line than should be there. And it's like, "You are the heart of the heart, there's an organ in my chest," and blah, blah, blah. Just like, oh my God. But it's a creative choice. Maybe not one I agree with, but it is a creative choice. They do some straight singing. They do some Vocaloid pitch shifty st- what is that called? There's an actual program that electronic pitch shifting. It has a name. I forget. Hey, cafe. Um, they do, as I was talking about, they do melody switching between most of the characters and the actors. They have the singers they got for the actors, who I think could do a better job actually doing voice matching, but whatever. Um, have distinct singing voices. Some of them are a little bit too uh, high in the sinus. That really pinched, high pitched, tight, high in the palate, nasally voice that they use for either super young or super cutesy characters. But one of the zombies is supposed to be 12 years old, so kind of works for her. But they have some of the voices are thicker and richer, so it's a nice variety of voices. They do some complex harmonies. They do bell chords. There's a lot of interesting musical variety in this show that was genuinely impressive, I thought. They even have so suffice to say, musically the show is working for me. Reverend says season 2 is ready to come out. I think they have the first 4 or 5 episodes of what's the second one? Zombie Land Saga remix or revenge or retooled or restart. No, that's Battle Athletes. Battle Athletes Victory Restart. Debut review, which I recorded a debut review for today, so look for that in the coming weeks. Another interesting thing about the show is it's not overtly sexualized. Like, they don't objectify any of the characters. Like, the camera doesn't leer on their busts or their butts. They're idols, so they do wear typical idol costumes, which do involve short skirts and midriff bearing crop tops, but their butts aren't hanging out. They're not overly cleavage tastic. Even like the 19th century courtesans, they all come from different eras. Um, Even her, she's not like spilling out of her kimono or anything. Uh, and I thought it was particularly interesting that they accommodate the 12-year-old with more appropriate clothing. For instance, they have a bunch of midriff bearing outfits, but the 12-year-old gets a full shirt. Good job, show. I'm proud of you. So, it can be attractive and sexy without being exploitative or objectifying or leery, creeping, or gross, which is not something you often see in anime. For example, Battle Athletes Rebirth, Victory, Rebirth, Restart, whatever, which again I just saw the first episode of today. Every character in that show is introduced butt first, with the exception of one character who is introduced breasts first. So good on you, Zombieland Saga. Good on you. The various concerts are well done. The show does something very interesting in that when it goes in concert mode, the character, it's a 2D animated show, but all the concerts are done primarily with 3D character models. Pretty decent cell shading. It matches pretty well, and the animation's pretty good. But I mean, it's noticeable, but not as jarring as the switch to, say, the 3D Titans in the latest season of Attack on Titan. Granted, I think the Colossal Titan was always CG and, well, mostly CG, but all the Titans in season 4 or 5, whatever season it's in, are CG, and it's fine, but it's really noticeable. Um, I, I really do admire the fact that they make the seven girls not completely in sync, especially the seventh, who's the unawakened zombie. She's off in her own little world half the time. She's still doing the moves and she's still part of the group, but she's just kind of waving around. It's pretty funny. So overall, I'm actually enjoying the show. It My ping-ponging feelings toward the show started to even out by, I'd say, episode 5. So, yeah, and I have to think that's probably because I more came to terms with what the show is. So, yeah, Zombieland Saga, I enjoying it. Reverend asks, where do I watch all my anime? Wherever it is. This one's on Zombieland Saga's on Crunchyroll. VV and Battle Athletes Victory Restart are both on Funimation. Great Pretender, which I talked about earlier, is on Netflix. So wherever they are, as long as I have access to the service that provides them. For example, if there's something on Hulu, can't watch it because I don't subscribe to Hulu. So. Oh, Matthew, yeah, I talked about VV earlier. I guess you were away when I was talking about that. But yeah, I did. I've watched the 5 episodes that are available right now. There might be one new one since I last watched, but yeah, I'm enjoying VV pretty well. I talked about it a little earlier though. So Matthew says, well, they are zombies, so they can't. The setup does that. Yeah, there's one thing I like about how it's presented is the when the girls are not wearing their they put on full body makeup to go out in the public so they don't look like rotting corpses. But when they're at home and they take their makeup off, they're rotting corpses, but they're anime cute. Except when someone else sees them, then they're really creepy, disgusting, rotting corpses. So I kind of like the idea that the cute way they're drawn is how they see themselves, but everyone else sees them as disgusting monsters. I think that's a nice little touch. Jared says there's seven of them. There are seven of them. Yes. Um, I'm kind of interested. Another issue with the show is I think it needed another script pass because it doesn't pace out its character beats enough. It kind of, you get to like episode 8, and it's like, ooh, we want to do this super dramatic thing with this character, but we didn't set it up, so we just kind of have to jam it all in here now. And dramatically it works, narratively it works, but it would work better, it would be more impactful if it were set up properly. If you've seen, example, Captain America Winter Soldier. Captain America Winter Soldier relies very heavily on the relationship between Bucky Barnes, pre Winter Soldier, and Steve Rogers, pre ish Captain America. Unfortunately, they didn't do a lot of that in the first movie. So in the Winter Soldier movie, they had to do flashbacks and stuff to really drive home that yes, these two people were super duper buddies who would do anything for each other. Not that there wasn't anything in the first movie, there just wasn't enough, so they had to kind of push it into the second movie, and it was a little awkward and didn't quite work, and would have worked better if it were in the first movie in the first place. It's like, oh, by the way, these two, totally like that. Even though that way we just kind of retconned that a little bit to make it work. Zombieland Saga has problems with things like that too, where it's, oh, we're going to do this big dramatic beat for this character. Oh, but you haven't set any of that up. That's all right. We'll jam it all in this episode. It just comes out of nowhere. But flashbacks. That's what flashbacks are for. Oh, seven of them, seven episodes of Vivi. Okay, then there's at least one or two. The last episode I saw was they went to an island of uh, robots that are kind of halfway between Wall-E and the cute robots in Nier Automata. And the bad guys or government or terrorist organization or whoever the hell it is coming to bomb them. So that's where I left off. So whether that's episode 5 or 6 or whatever. So yeah, that one's in the middle of its run. Zombie Land Saga is in the middle of season 2 or the first third or something. Anyway, so still, so yeah, that's my story of Zombie Land Saga Whiplash. Because man, I was, for the first 4 or 5 episodes, I was just ping ponging back and forth. But even though there were plenty of moments in that show that was like, oh my god, I hate this so much, there were enough, oh my gosh, I love this so much that I kept watching. So I think last week I talked about how it's probably going to be a while, at least, before I go back to a movie theater. I mean, right now, even if I were fully vaccinated, I would not go to a movie theater. And what I was talking about is there's a bunch of Marvel movies that are going to theaters, and I want to see them. I want to see Black Widow and Eternals and Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. But I'm not paying $30 for the privilege to watch them on Disney Plus, a service I already pay for, and I'm not going to the theater. Probably not going to the theater for a while. Maybe I'll feel better about it come the summer. Who knows? But I was thinking about that this week. I thought, you know what? I could go to the drive-in. If I really want to see the movie. I mean, it's not the best way to watch a movie because the image is a little washed out, but it's certainly a better personal experience because you don't, unless someone lays on their damn car horn or something, or turns on their high beams. or comes and kicks your car. I've never had that happen. But drive-in is only like last I looked, it was like $8 for a double feature, and so if I want to see movies, I could probably do it that way. But I've seen many people online desperate to go back to the theater, and not just to see movies they want to see, but because they genuinely value the theatrical experience. Seeing a movie on the big screen with a crowd of cheering fans is just means a lot to a lot of people. I can't relate. I hate the theatrical experience. I hate it with a passion that burns hotter than the fire of 1,000 suns. Because I hate people, I guess. It's not that I hate people, I do, but it's not that. Um, there are a lot of things I don't like about the movie theater. It's mostly the people, but it's also sometimes I can't control. I don't have. I'm a control freak, and I don't have control. That's what I don't like. Sometimes the screen is torn, or dirty, or the projector is not aligned properly, or the film is cropped incorrectly. There can be a lot of presentation issues in a theater, and I can't do anything about it except go complain, and then I miss part of the movie. And I actually have refunded my money. I can't think of any specific examples, but I've been like, okay, this is framed wrong. Give me my money back. I'll have to come back another time. I've even left because people in the theater. I can't. Most people are fine, but every group of people is just going to have assholes in it, and invariably, you go into a movie theater. There's just going to be someone in there who doesn't realize or doesn't care that this is not their living room. And they'll just talk, or kick your seat, or eat something that they have to extract from a package that makes a lot of noise, or play on their cell phone, or talk on their cell phone, or vomit all over the place. I've had that happen. Sometimes sickness can just sneak right up on you, but like if you're feeling nauseous, don't go to the movies. And if you do hurl in a theater, maybe tell management on your way out. Because I was sitting next to a mom and her kid, and this kid just blows chunks all over his lap and the floor in front of him, gets up and leaves. And I got up and left a minute later because the smell, man, So I go to management and says, yeah, someone yacked in the theater. So they're like, really? I'm like, you're kidding. No one told. No. Oh my God, really? Dude, sometimes you get sick. It happens. But for crying out loud, tell management that you just, tossed your cookies all over the theater floor. Please. It's only polite. So I honestly cannot relate to people who miss going to the theaters. I actually love watching everything here at home. Granted, I have a decent TV. I mean, it's nothing special. It's a 1080p. It's not even 4K, but it's a 60-inch television. It's nice. I can watch stuff here at my leisure, and no one's here to walk in front of me because they have to go to the bathroom, which I don't begrudge them. But this is not what I want to do while watching a movie. I don't want to listen to other people. I don't want to be distracted by the lights from their cell phones. I don't want kids behind me kicking my goddamn chair. Because parents don't appreciate it when you yell at their children. Understandably so. It's hard, though. Kids are annoying. I don't know how you parents do it. Because as frustrated as I get by your annoying children, I don't have to live with them. I can't imagine how frustrating it must be for you. So, you keeping your cool, at least in public, kudos. So I couldn't do it. Cafe says the biggest issue I have is theaters, either the sound issues or people loudly eating. Yeah, it's either presentation or just people being inconsiderate. When I watch stuff at home, I don't have to worry about people being inconsiderate because I'm the only one here. So, so I would not, I could never go to the theater again and not be bothered by that. But I do know that a lot of people, for some reason, that experience a movie with other people, for some, that's magical. You know, you've probably seen clips of the end of Avengers Endgame, where all the Avengers come and stand side by side with Captain America, and he picks up Thor's hammer. Spoilers for a movie that's a few years old. And he picks up Thor's hammer and says, Avengers, assemble. And the crowd's like, oh my god, they're losing their shit, and they're crying and screaming and laughing and clapping, and you watch this video and you're like, oh man, I wish I was there. Can you imagine being there in that moment? The energy of the crowd. I wish I could have been there to experience that with other people. Just watching this YouTube clip makes me cry. It would have annoyed the shit out of me. I saw Endgame in the theater, and I'm glad that my theater was quiet. I don't mind when people laugh at things that are funny. I do the same thing, maybe not with the frequency of most, but I do laugh occasionally. Sometimes I get stuck in a giggle fit. You've seen me do that. I've got videos up on my YouTube channel to prove it. Um, I don't recall ever doing that like in a theater though. Thank goodness. But it's just one of the many things that makes me different from a good portion of other people is that what a lot of people view as a shared magical moment is something that annoys the hell out of me. You know, I have never in my life been prompted to go, oh! When I lived in Pacific Beach, I would constantly hear, oh! From other apartments. I'm pretty sure they were watching a sports game on television and they were owing at a touchdown or a goal or a home run or a basket being made. I've seen some cool stuff in my time. I've never been inspired to go, oh, because I'm a stick in the mud, I guess. So I just express my enthusiasm in a different way. I keep it to myself, I guess. But yeah, I don't begrudge anyone who does enjoy the theatrical experience, but I don't, and honestly, I'm not going to miss it. I do feel for, you know, the people whose livelihoods are tied to the theatrical experience. You know, from filmmakers, producers, projectionists, ushers, floor cleaners, concession stand workers, ticket takers, all of them. I mean, it kind of blows that you're out of work. It really blows that you're out of work. You know, just because I don't enjoy what you do doesn't mean I begrudge what you do or want you to have trouble making rent for the month or buying Cheerios or whatever. So, Justice League giggle fit? Justice League. I remember a few. I had a big giggle fit during my Gem the Holograms, or my original one from the 30 Days of Netflix 5, 6 years ago. I had a big one during the What Remains of Edith Finch playthrough that I did in the last year. I actually clipped that and posted it separately. I don't recall one about Justice League, but I'm sure I did. Um, So let's move on to actually a small bit of news from this week that I found interesting. Oh, the marketing for the Zack Snyder version of Justice League, right? With the Hallelujah the trailer. Oh God, they have to be taking the piss with the marketing of that movie. They have to. They I don't have HBO Max. I think it's on. I don't have that, so I haven't seen it. But there's a bunch of DC films that I haven't seen. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna like, but I want to see anyway. And that's Batman v Superman, Justice League, Suicide Squad. Um, Probably something else in there. But Wonder Woman 2. Um, yeah. Hallelujah. CD Projekt Red. I hope this is a quick one. I don't want to dwell on it, but I found this particularly interesting. So, a gentleman by the name of Conrad, oh God, Tomauskowitz. I apologize. I'm sure I butchered that. My name doesn't make phonetic sense either. So, although I'm sure you're in Polish, your name makes perfect phonetic sense, but I don't know Polish phonics, so sorry. Anyway, Mr. Conrad was accused of who's the head of production in Cyberpunk 2077, and the director of Witcher 3 was accused of workplace bullying. Well, CD Projekt Red, he denies this. He denies having been a toxic shithead to the people who work for him. And a formal investigation uh, found him not guilty of said allegations. So he was accused of being a toxic shithead who bullied the people under him. He says, I was not a toxic shithead. I bullied no one. CD Projekt Red investigated me, and they said that I didn't do anything wrong. And he resigned. Even though he claims he did nothing wrong, and a CDPR investigation confirmed it. In a statement, he said, quote, nonetheless, saying I'll resign, he said, quote, nonetheless, a lot of people are feeling fear, stress, or discomfort when working with me. He apologized to staff members, saying, quote, for all the bad blood apologizing for, quote, all the bad blood I have caused. Writers, just please, for the love of God, when you get a quote, just put the goddamn quote in your article. Stop doing this dumb shit, because it makes it really hard to talk about on the podcast. What it says here is, quote, nonetheless, a lot of people are feeling fear, stress, or discomfort when working with me, end quote, Tomauskowitz said in an email, and he apologized to affected staff members, quote, for all the bad blood I have caused, period, end quote. He also offered, quote, I'm going to continue working on... Stop it! Stop doing that, says a guy who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about and took no formal classes in journalism or reporting or writing or anything. The reason I don't like this is because I want the full context of what the person said, not filtered through your editing, because I'm probably missing some goddamn nuance here, which could mean I'm possibly being unfair to the gentleman. Okay? So if you get a quote, just put the goddamn quote in your piece. Stop interjecting with these dumb little drop-ins. He said he then apologized, saying, just put the damn apology there. How many words, honestly, did you save with that summation of what he said? Stop summarizing what they say, just show it. Ah! If it takes up too much space, put the full quotes in an attachment or at the bottom of the article or something. So with that in mind, let me just read through this. So again, Tomauskowitz says, I didn't do it, and this investigation proves I didn't do it. Nevertheless, I'm resigning because nonetheless a lot of people are feeling fear, stress, or discomfort when working with me. I apologize to affected staff members for all of the bad blood I have caused. I'm going to continue working on myself. Changing behavior is a long and arduous process, but I'm not giving up, and I hope to change. What are you hoping to change, Conrad? I mean, if you're not a toxic shithead who bullied your employees, what is it you're apologizing for? What is it about your behavior that you are focusing long and arduously to change? You say you didn't do it. This investigation, which I don't trust because CDPR did it themselves, never investigate yourself. That doesn't work. Rather, it just can't be trusted. But you state you didn't do any of this, and yet you say, but I'm still going to resign because I made everyone uncomfortable and I made them stressful and fearful. So I'm going to work on changing, even though I didn't do anything. It's a long and arduous process to change behavior that doesn't need changing because I didn't do anything. But I'm not giving up hope. I hope to change, even though I didn't do anything, I swear. Scout's honor. This is not a scout symbol. I don't know what the hell I was doing. Now it's possible that because I'm not seeing the full quote, it looks as silly as it does. But taking this at face value, I would have rethought the way you did this, because I don't work for CD Projekt Red. I don't know anybody who works there. So this is just a outside looking in. But this tells me you are completely full of shit. When you say that I didn't do it, and the investigation said I didn't do it, but I don't believe you, because you're still leaving, acknowledging that you have caused fear, stress, and discomfort from the people you work with. And you're going to work on changing. And you hope to change. So you're lying about something. So you're either you genuinely didn't do anything and you're just lying because you think it'll sound good or something, or what I find more plausible is you are a toxic shithead and you know it. And that's why you're resigning, even though you deny you did anything wrong, even though CDPR denies you did anything wrong. You're still leaving, acknowledging that you caused fear, stress, and discomfort from the people who worked for you, and you hope to change. Even though you didn't do anything, it's a long and arduous process that I work on changing my behavior that was always good, but caused fear, stress, and discomfort. Maybe it's this article, but Conrad, can you see the disconnect here? Well, I hope you do the work, and I hope you become a non-toxic person who's not an asshole who bullies the people who works for him. And I hope the staff of CDPR are doing well and recover from your mistreatment. You shit. Nice to see that after the utter failure of Cyberpunk 2077, being that CDPR lied to us about it and released a broken product, and then worked its folks hard to fix what should not have been released in that state in the first place, and they shouldn't have lied to us about in the first place. Nice to see that even through all of that, the executives made a lot of money. Ooh, ooh, they made bank. They cashed in. Did the artists and developers and the people who actually did the work? I hope they made bank too, but I doubt it. Ah, what a lovely industry. So, Reverend says Zack Snyder's Justice League was good. Well, good. I'm glad. I'm gonna someday. I hope to actually watch both versions and you know do a compare contrast because I find that stuff genuinely fascinating. I love behind the scenes stuff, so I love comparing one person's how one team made the same story and how another team made the same story and it turned out differently. I love that stuff. Even if the movies are bad or one's bad and one's good, I do find that that kind of stuff fascinating. So I do hope to see it someday, and I hope it's good because I don't like watching things, especially things that are that damn long. I think Zack Snyder's version is like 4 hours. I don't like watching things that are bad, and I especially do not like watching things that are bad that are super long. So yeah, I hope I enjoy it too. Um, I don't have a lot of faith in it because I didn't really care for. I mean, I didn't hate, but I didn't think Man of Steel was very good. And what I've seen of Batman v Superman is just laughably bad. Granted, I saw it out of context, so that's not really fair. But again, I'm certainly curious enough to check it out. So, lastly, oh hey, we're at 8 o'clock already. So, Ryuga Gotoku Studios, took me a moment, announced that they're making a sequel to Judgment called Lost Judgment. I hope the third one's called Poor Judgment. um, Judgment takes place in the world of the Yakuza games, takes place in the streets of Kamurocho. And you play a detective named Yagami something or other. And you are a detective and lawyer who stalks the streets of Kamurocho and solves the crimes. And it was a fun game. I think where it came up a little bit short was in the gumshoe detective portions of the game where you had to either tail a person or wear a disguise or try and find a person based on a sketch you had or some of the lock-picking stuff. It was good, but it was a little stilted, and it's kind of like the RPG mechanics in Yakuza 7. It's clear that it's Ryuga Gotoku Studios' first pass at it, so I'm actually genuinely excited to see how they've improved those particular mechanics for the sequel. Likewise, I'm excited to hear that they're going to keep the Yakuza games, for now anyway, turn-based RPG battle mechanics, because I think it's still fun the way it is, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement. Maybe I'll go into that more in another podcast. But for now, I enjoyed the presentation for Judgment. They started out with like a 5-minute story trailer, and doggy, that game is dark and depressing as dog do. Very dark, very depressing. It's about murder and torture. Not necessarily in that order. And it seems to spoil a character dying, and I'm pretty sure I know which character it is because it's the only character in the game. It's like, did you just spoil something? I hope not. but it still looks fun. But what I'm here for is the goofy stuff. Like Yagami can, boy, I hope I have his name right. He can ride a skateboard and go all Tony Hawk and stuff now. That's cool. I hope it works better than. This would be funnier if I could remember the game's name. Deadly Premonition 2. Again, that would have worked better if I instantly had the name and could remember the Zach. No, Zach is the no. What's it? Agent Morgan York, right? Yeah, something like. Pretend I was, actually don't remember my failures. They're more fun. Um, that game has a skateboard and it runs like garbage. Haven't played it. I've just seen it. And like Cyberpunk 2077, it should not have been released in that state. But hopefully, who is it? Suda51? No, it's who the hell does Deadly Premonition? Uh, is it Suda? Whoever it is, hopefully they didn't bully their staff. Um, what was I talking about? Judgment. So I'm here for the goofy stuff, like the skateboarding and the parkour stuff, because yeah, Yagami can run around Kamurocho and apparently the Yokohama area that you're in Yakuza 7 by just like Prince of Persia-ing it, crawling up drain pipes and flipping off stuff and hand over hand along the walls and wall running and stuff like that. Um, there's also a high school that you can go inside and beat up the children. I hope. I really want to go into the high school and have a bunch of snotty 15-year-olds getting up in my face and be like, yeah, old man, and I smash their head in with a bicycle or a traffic cone, or maybe both. I think that would be lovely. There's a new style in this game, Snake style, which is all parries and counters and takedowns and stuff rather than punches and kicks. So maybe the game, when you're in the high school, it limits you to that style. Don't know. But there's also boxing. There's a dancing mini game called High School Dance Jam or something like that, where you lead a bunch of high school kids in dance. So I'm guessing it's similar to Haruka's uh, little music rhythm mini games in Yakuza 5. And there's what looks like I guess like battle bots where you create your own little battle bot, a little remote controlled car with weapons on it, and you drive around an arena and try to get the other person's car with weapons on it. Oh, I love that stuff. All the gritty crime drama stuff. Yeah, that's cool, and it. But I love the goofy nonsense. That's what I'm there for. The only thing that kind of bothers me is, and I was pretty sure that this announcement was coming. I have been for a while. The problem I have with it is it kind of makes it less likely that localizations of Yakuza Kenzan and Ishin will be out this year. Unless they surprise us with a very early summer release. I genuinely don't think that's the case. Um, we're not going to see them this year. Maybe a quarter one, quarter two next year, but you get too far away and we're probably looking at Yakuza 8. So, or maybe they'll throw a curveball and they'll do Fist of the North Star 2. That game was fun too. But that one, even by Yakuza game standards, that one took a while to get going, but it was fun too. Um, yeah, I'm encouraged that Ryoga Gotoku Studios has expressed interest in localizing Ishin and Kenzan. But to what they say is it's just a matter of one, finding the time and budget to actually localize these games. They're big games. It's not a small thing to do. And two, just finding a proper time in the schedule to release them, because you don't want to release them on top of a Yakuza 7 or Judgment 2 because they'll get buried. But since Yakuza 7, they've been releasing the remasters of Yakuza 3, 4, and 5, and they're right now they're releasing the next gen versions of Judgment, the first one. So I have to admit, I would be, if you put Judgment 2 and localizations of either Ishin or Kenzan, preferably both, in front of me, I would grab the Yakuza spin-offs, because I've been dying to play those for many, many years. So, all right, I think that's good for tonight. The pods have been cast. So, tomorrow, noon Pacific Standard Time, may be the last episode of Trails in the Sky. We seem to be approaching the end. I don't know. I'm guessing that I'm in the last dungeon, and once I get to the end, it's the final boss, and that's the end of the game. I don't know that, but it's possible. But it's probably, if we don't finish the game tomorrow, then it's definitely, from what I understand from other people, from other folks in the chat, it's definitely the penultimate episode. So we shall see. Anyway, we are rapidly hurtling towards the conclusion of that game, so if you're interested, definitely tune in tomorrow here on YouTube or on my Twitch or Facebook Live, broadcasting all those fun places for hopefully the finale of Trails in the Sky, first chapter, noon Pacific Standard Time. Looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. All right, that's it for me tonight. Have a lovely evening. Take care, everyone. See you later. Bye-bye.